I would like to welcome our esteemed District Governor, David Jones, to the podium for a few words.
Wow, I don't know about you guys, but it was really a delight to listen to several of our speakers today, and it's going to be even more of a delight to listen to our finalists. I have to say, though, as you go through the four-way test, it's not really fair because they didn't give me 5 to 7 minutes. I just have a short one. But no, I appreciate everybody being here. It's nice to have the 35 contestants that we've had this year. And I hope everybody did get to listen to somebody in one of those rooms and were as impressed as I was. I want to thank Port Summit for hosting this, the school, Springfield Local Schools, for having us here and in this beautiful auditorium for the finals. And as well, thank you for attending and coming as far as some of you did. I do appreciate it. So on with the contest, and let's listen to the people we really want to hear.
All right, so without further ado, we are going to have our first contestant. And just for clarification, do they come up to here and speak? Yes. Okay, so you want to come up to the podium to speak. You can move the mic to fit whatever you need. I'm short, so I put mine down. If you're tall, put it up. So, Vidya Narula. Her topic is going to be recycling for ACBC.
Are you guys okay? Once upon a time, there was a girl named Ronnie. The king of the village that she lived in was a very cruel ruler. One day, Ronnie saves the life of the king. In return, he says that she can ask for anything that she wants. But she only asked for 1 grain of rice, double for each day for 30 days. The king was very happy and agreed, thinking how much could just 1 grain of rice add up to? That added up to over 500 million grains of rice. The moral of the story was not to underestimate how the little things do add up. A survey conducted by the World Economic Forum found that 94% of Americans do support recycling. 74% went as far as saying that recycling should be our top priority. But in reality, only 35% of Americans actually go out and recycle. Before I explain how ACBC follows the Rotary 4-way test, I would like to explain the program. ACBC stands for Aluminum Cans for Burned Children. As it stands for, this program collects aluminum cans for the Akron Burned Children Center. They also help provide for fire safety homes for elementary schools. So what? Why does this all matter? It matters because ACBC is doing its best to provide for rehabilitation, clothes, toys, games, and other special medical equipment that is not covered by their insurance, so they can aid their healing process. Your real question should be, so how could I help? Well, let's take the simple step-by-step process. Imagine that you are sitting at home, enjoying your nice cold can of Coke, not sponsored. And that's when you realize that your can of Coke is empty. So you get up. But instead of going to the trash can, you go to your sink and rinse out your can. I did an experiment, and it takes about 7 seconds to wash out 1 can of Coke. Now, don't ask me how many cans of Coke I drank for that experiment. It was for science. Anything for science. Then you're going to drive to your nearest fire station and place the can in the bin labeled ACBC. Congratulations, your task is now complete. You do not have to wash the cans before donating, but it would be preferred. You might be wondering, how much of a difference will my 1 can of Coke make? Well, I crunched some numbers, and I found out that if everybody in the Summit County donated just 1 can per month, then we will have raised over $2.8 million per year. All I ask of you is to go out and donate just 1 can per month. I do understand that everybody in this room has their different financial situations. But those who are already buying products in aluminum cans can simply donate them instead of throwing them away. Now to answer the important questions. Is it the truth? ACBC has been around for a long time, but I had never heard about them. I didn't believe it until I researched their website myself. I went around and asked about 10 teachers and 50 kids my age if they had ever heard about ACBC before. They all sadly answered no. I sat down and took my time and explained what ACBC was and how they can share this with their family. Now that you all know about this truth, it is all your responsibility to share this with others. It's fair to all concerned. Each aluminum can donated is worth roughly 44 cents. So each can that is thrown away or even put inside of a recycling bin, I would consider a waste. Considering how many kids that could have helped, it's simply unfair to them. Those who want to make a donation but don't have aluminum cans can visit their website, acbcohio.org, and make a donation if they wish. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Yes, it will, for so many reasons. ACBC holds an annual summer camp for the kids so they can interact with others who've been through similar situations. But not only that, you yourself can become a volunteer and sign up, meet these children, build new friendships. But when you see these kids and all they have been through, that's when you're going to understand why there's been a crazy lady up here for the past 5 minutes yelling at you to go donate your cans. Finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? ACBC is not just trying to help inpatients at the hospital. They're trying to help our whole community by educating us on fire safety to stop any more bad accidents from happening. You are donating and recycling at the same time. So you're partly donating to yourself because everything that you put out into this world has a way of coming back to you. So don't do the same mistake that the king did and think, well, how much a difference will my 1 can of Coke make? Because the answer is a lot. Thank you.
Our second speaker today will be Michael Wu. His topic will be ineffective communication.
I first started playing clarinet for my school band when I was 10 years old. We only knew how to play 5 notes, so needless to say, we sounded pretty dysfunctional. Back then, there was only one rule: to play as loud as you possibly could. Let's just say, it wasn't fun sitting right in front of the trumpets. But now that 5 years have passed, I found that not only has my playing gotten much better, but my coordination with my bandmates and my teachers has also significantly improved. And the reason for both these improvements is better communication. Communication and coordination are instrumental because playing as a group requires everyone to blend their parts together to create one harmonious sound. If one person is out of line, the whole band will fall out of line. The different members of the group must not only learn to play what they're given, but they must be aware of what everyone else is playing as well. With effective communication, I was better able to understand other people's parts and how to fit my own parts into the overall flow of the music. It has not only made me a better clarinet player, but also a better band member. Effective communication is a crucial skill that is necessary in order to efficiently complete tasks. However, it is troubling to see that ineffective communication plagues our current society. It has led to polarization, misunderstandings, and even broken relationships. By using the Rotary four-way test, we will analyze how truly devastating it can be. First, is it the truth? Communication is defined as the exchange of information between people. Effective communication, on the other hand, involves not only the exchange of information, but also requires the successful understanding of that information by the receiver. But only when the sender is able to clearly and accurately convey that message can the receiver be able to correctly understand it. So if neither of these two conditions are achieved, then the exchanged information is essentially useless. This can be seen in today's society through fake and biased news. Unfortunately, many people are often exposed to these certain news sources, and in turn, that leads to political polarization and ineffective communication. As a result, they are unwilling to listen to any information that contradicts their own beliefs. They now believe that their opinion is the truth, and that the offered information is simply false or a lie. Does this sound like truth? Secondly, is ineffective communication fair to all concerned? When I was in 8th grade, we used to have debates in class all the time. However, for this one debate, I seemed to be the only one defending my side. But what made it so frustrating was the fact that every time I would try to bring up one of my points, one of my peers would always interrupt me. Additionally, many seemed to have no interest in what I was saying, and some simply didn't even pay attention to me. These were all signs of ineffective communication. And looking back, I realized how disheartening it was to have nobody actually listen to the information I was attempting to communicate. Not only can ineffective communication lead to disrespect, but can also cause misunderstandings, which always results in a scapegoat being unfairly blamed. Clearly, that is not fair. Next, does ineffective communication build goodwill and better friendships? People in today's society tend to stick with people with similar beliefs, leading to polarization and ineffective communication with others with different beliefs. These people then start to become increasingly hostile toward those other individuals. In fact, according to a study done by the Pew Research Center, more than half of Americans hold very unfavorable views toward people with opposing political ideologies. Not only has ineffective communication caused a nationwide conflict, but it can also cause conflict in personal matters as well. For example, when one person is mad at another, he often just ignores them, trying to get the point through that he is mad, instead of directly telling them why he is mad and looking for a solution. This often just escalates the conflict and tension rather than solving the problem. Ineffective communication doesn't build better relationships, but rather it destroys them. Lastly, is ineffective communication beneficial to all concerned? Ineffective communication has shown time and time that nobody benefits from it. It has caused the split of a nation, innumerable misunderstandings, and countless of broken relationships. It has only caused suffering for all involved and has not resulted in anything beneficial. Unfortunately, there seems to be no solution to ineffective communication on a widespread scale. But there is a clear path we can follow to eliminate ineffective communication from our own lives. And that is, the next time ineffective communication occurs in a conversation, simply recognize the fact that it is causing tension and creating chaos. Together, you and the others in the conversation can create a plan to avoid ineffective communication in the future, and that will eventually lead to greater productivity and effective communication. Although it is not a perfect plan, it will slowly but surely build a better world, a more peaceful, a more unified, and a more loving world. Thank you.
Our third contestant is Corinne Cullum. And her topic today will be Alzheimer's disease.
Are my judges ready? Okay. I absolutely love the critically acclaimed, Oscar-winning film, Finding Nemo. Saving a child fish might not be on everyone's resume, but it is on Dory's. And maybe you and I have never remembered an obscure name and address to help someone, but I think we can often forget what memory can do for us. Your ability to reminisce with friends about the good old days. It's how your brain understands what I'm saying because of our learned language. A quote from Queensland, Australia Brain Institute says it best. Memory is crucial in transforming us from helpless newborns into capable adults. Memory truly gives us the power to do important tasks in everyday life, whether we're aware of it or not. Unfortunately, though, not everyone is able to remember the names of their loved ones or even who they are in the mirror. Today, let's explore the effects of Alzheimer's disease through the lens of the Rotary 4-way test. First, is it the truth? Yes. Alzheimer's disease is a real and persistent neurocognitive disorder that hinders one's memory, thinking, and behavior. According to the CDC, Alzheimer's affects 5.6 million people nationwide. The scientist who coined the term was none other than Dr. Alzheimer. In 1906, Dr. Alzheimer studied a woman by the name of August Dieter, and what he noticed right away about her brain was a significant decrease in volume. His findings described that the ordinary neurons in her brain couldn't send messages to one another because they were blocked by a buildup of amyloid plaques. By understanding the true basis of Alzheimer's disease, we can gain insight into preventative action. Second, is it fair to all concerned? Absolutely not. People living with Alzheimer's have a harder time grasping new concepts, and their long-term memories increasingly fade the longer they live with the disease. Any neurocognitive disorder causes stigma and shame to those living with it and the people closest to them. The CDC reports that Alzheimer's is a complex condition that is caused by a multitude of factors. With this being said, things such as age and genetic predispositions all play a role in the development of Alzheimer's disease, which is why it is important to understand the complexities of this terrible circumstance in order to help those affected. And this will segue us into question number 3. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Something as devastating as dementia itself will not, but there seems to be a silver lining here. You see, when we are able to sympathize with people who are navigating through such a difficult time in their life, it does build goodwill and better friendships. According to the Alzheimer's Association, frequent quality time with your friends and family may cause your brain to strengthen certain connections between neurons. It becomes clear that specific programs and support groups are incredibly helpful and offer ways to spread information and connect with people who are in a similar situation. Lastly, will it be beneficial to all concerned? No. No one deserves to be left in a place where the everyday things that we take for granted are suddenly the most challenging parts of their day, their lives. But what is beneficial is the research being conducted, providing incredible advancements in the right direction. As of now, clinical trials conducted by Dominantly Inherited Alzheimer Network are testing antibodies to see if they could prevent buildup of amyloid plaques to reduce or delay the disease. The FDA also recently announced its approval of a few different medications designed to stop the progression of early-stage Alzheimer's and help stabilize moderate symptoms. Today, we explored Alzheimer's disease and applied it to the Rotary 4-way test. First, we learned the truth about what Alzheimer's is, and then we concluded that developing a severe neurocognitive disorder is unfair to all concerned. Then we uncovered that Alzheimer's can bond people with similar experiences in order to build goodwill and better friendships, before finally acknowledging the beneficial action being taken. It is our memory that binds us together, to love, to experience, to feel. I believe it goes without saying that whatever the case may be, it is imperative that we give people affected by memory loss time, patience, and continuous support. It is important to note to yourself and to others, there is hope towards prevention and perhaps even a cure. In the words of Dory, just keep swimming. Thank you.
Our fourth contestant is Sanjana Katiar. And her topic today will be impacts of colorism.
Amanda Gorman, our nation's youngest inaugural poet, inspiring words still ring through my ears. There is always light, only if you choose to see it, only if you choose to be it. Light is often associated with knowledge, hope, and optimism, but many people are unaccustomed to the dark side of light. Yes, an oxymoron, but a reality for many of us in the Asian, African American, and Latino communities, where the quest to be light-skinned is real. Why is it that society has created a bias that to be beautiful, you must be light-skinned? Growing up, I vividly recall hearing innuendos about skin tone in the media or casually mentioned in a conversation. And although I did not fully grasp the gravity of these comments, I understood the insensitive nature of them. However, as I matured, I started to understand the impact of colorism in these communities, especially on young girls. It tears down young girls' confidence levels and creates a false definition of beauty. I noticed a notion that to be beautiful, you must be light-skinned, and the pressure to change the way you look if you were dark-skinned. I observed how racism and its need for change is often talked about, but colorism is rarely discussed as candidly as it should be. I feel as if before we can change this unjust nature of colorism, we must acknowledge it exists as a community. Ladies and gentlemen, today I will be applying the Rotary Club's 4-way test to the ethical issue of colorism. Number 1, is it the truth? Yes, it is a social reality that affects the lives and experiences of many individuals across this world. The beauty bias is completely evident when sales for skin lightening companies are projected to increase $8.4 billion by 2024. Let that sink in, $8.4 billion. There are people out there paying to lighten their skin because of the narrative society has established for beauty standards. Instead of society changing its definition of beautiful, we have made individuals change their identity to fit society's definition. Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? No, colorism is not fair to all concerned as it results in discrimination and unequal treatment based on skin color. The darker shade of skin you have, the less you earn. The World Economic Forum has reported that lighter-skinned individuals make 25% more than darker-skinned individuals. When one group of people is consistently paid less than another for reasons simply beyond their control, it reinforces the idea that they are inherently worth less. Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendship? No, colorism does not build goodwill or better friendship as it perpetuates negative stereotypes and reinforces division based on skin color. When a community discriminates within the same race on the basis of color, you are creating an inherent bias in teaching the next generation to be uncomfortable in their own skin. Number 4, is it beneficial to all concerned? No, colorism is not beneficial to all concerned as it limits opportunities for those with darker skin tones and perpetuates systematic inequality. The Journal of Applied Social Psychology published a study that reported employment rate decisions between lighter-skinned and darker-skinned applicants. The study concluded that lighter-skinned applicants were more likely to be hired than darker-skinned applicants, despite having the same job qualifications and the same work experience. The first half of the study consisted of participants being shown photographs of job applicants with varying skin tones, and they were asked to rate each individual's hireability and qualifications. The results showed that the participants consistently rated the lighter-skinned applicants as more qualifiable and more hireable, even when the qualifications and hireability aspects were equal compared to their darker-skinned counterparts. The second half of the experiment focused on the impact of skin color in job sectors where customer interaction was important. It concluded that employers were more likely to hire lighter-skinned applicants over darker-skinned applicants. What's so wrong with the darker-skinned individual interacting with customers? I often marvel at the idea that even though human beings are 99.9% genetically identical, how much emphasis is placed on that 0.1% that gives us our skin color? If only we could celebrate that 0.1% that makes us uniquely us. If only we could focus on the color of our thoughts rather than the color of our skin, what a beautiful world we would live in today. As Maya Angelou once said, nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Thank you.
Our next contestant is Elizabeth Chen. Elizabeth's topic is shortfalls of artificial intelligence.
As the older generation likes to say, though typically with a flare of disdain, the current generation is always on their phones. Now it's Snapgram this and Instatalk that. While the debate on whether or not modern advancements in technology are truly detrimental to today's kids is a whole other thing. There is one thing that is not up for debate, and that is we do spend a lot of time on our phones. According to a study done by the Kaiser Family Foundation, we spend about 7.5 hours looking at a screen and consuming media daily. And what is present in the internet and the devices that we use for 7.5 hours every day? AI, artificial intelligence. And no, I don't mean some evil sci-fi robot that's capable of feeling all the emotions of a human and plots to take over the world or anything. While that technically is still a possibility, AI can also be found outside of a sci-fi movie.
For example, in criminal justice and in the automatic photocropping feature that you can find on the internet. And there are two main reasons why AI has been employed in so many fields. One, to make certain processes more efficient. And two, to help eliminate human bias. However, AI is not impartial. Today, we will examine this common misconception using the Rotary four-way test. And along the way, we will also try to generate some potential solutions, without using AI, of course. First, is it the truth? Yes, it is true that AI can be biased regarding gender, race, and more. The Gender Shades project done by MIT in 2018 shows shockingly high error rates in facial recognition AI for people of color, especially women. This project tested three major algorithms with facial recognition technology: Face++, IBM, and Microsoft. All three algorithms had an error rate gap of up to 34% between darker-skinned women and lighter-skinned men. This clearly shows the biases and flaws in those AI technologies. And with such a high error rate, is this kind of AI fair to all concerned? Absolutely not. AI is used in many important fields, such as criminal justice, where faulty facial recognition AI can lead to misidentification, which can then lead to innocent people being wrongfully arrested. This kind of error cannot be simply labeled as a happy accident, as it is far more serious and brings both harm and injustice. What I fear is that these microaggressions will slowly become normalized. As technology becomes ingrained in our lives in the future generation, the presence of AI and its bias will as well. Small acts of discrimination can escalate into larger ones, and this cannot become normalized. However, in most cases, this racial bias is inadvertent. The most common cause of a biased AI is a lack of diversity in the dataset used to train it. While those in charge of training AI may not have had malicious intents, their bias to a certain race is still likely to show in the training. Even if unintentional, this cannot be excused and must be stopped. One way to dilute its presence and build goodwill is to make sure that the data sets used to train AI are both diverse and fair. For facial recognition AI, using data sets with multiple images of people with various skin tones and facial features will help improve its accuracy. But still, in some cases, AI just shouldn't be used at all, as it is not beneficial to all concerned. For instance, Twitter once had an automatic photo cropping feature, but it had been proven to have bias. Users tested this algorithm by posting multiple long vertical images with a photo of former President Barack Obama at one end and Senator Mitch McConnell at the other. The results were that the algorithm would always automatically crop the image to Senator McConnell's face. This was because of Twitter's use of a saliency algorithm. Twitter revealed that the saliency algorithm was supposed to predict what part of an image people would look at first, thus cropping the image around it. But it had been proven to have bias. Twitter has since then removed this feature from its platforms and apologized, declaring that users should be the ones in charge of deciding how their own photos are cropped. In this case, it is best to leave artificial intelligence out, as it is not beneficial to all concerned. In the end, AI is not perfect. Yes, it can be absolutely amazing sometimes, but it also has a negative side. Sci-fi movies have always warned us of its dangers, but only in the most extreme forms, such as evil robots taking over the world. What about the dangers that are just a little bit less extreme then? What about microaggressions and the potential normalization of it? In the 7.5 hours we spend looking at a screen every day, AI's bias can be found in almost every aspect. So the next time you go on your phone, make sure to keep in mind the dangers of AI. That way, its bias will not become a normal part of the future generation. And so, evil robots won't actually take over the world. Thank you.
Our next contestant is Mary Klein. Mary Klein's topic will be teachers carrying guns in schools.
Imagine this. You're sitting in class, listening to your teacher talk about the laws of gravity or whatever other boring thing there is for her to teach you about, when all of a sudden, a shot goes off. Now immediately, the heart starts pumping, the blood is rushing, and every bad thought you can think of runs to your brain. I mean, although it's not a shock, you do live in America, and these things happen all the time. You see it on the news, school shootings happen, but you never actually thought it happened to you. Should teachers carry guns in school? That is the question that spread like wildfire across the country. Some argue, yes, it's beneficial in case of an emergency. They could protect the students. Others, however, say no. Why add more guns to an issue involving guns? It just seems problematic. To solve this, we'll be applying the Rotary Club 4-way test, which determines whether or not it's the truth. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Well, first, is it the truth? Well, it's certainly the truth that guns aren't peaceful. Bringing more guns into an issue involving guns just seems counterproductive. According to the New York Times, they said that in one study case, the research showed that when teachers carried guns, there was evidence that supports that it's not effective. Why would we make such drastic measures to have something like carrying a deadly weapon in school if it's not even as effective as we think it actually is? Secondly, is it fair to all concerned? Well, it certainly isn't fair to the kids who are put in high-risk situations where they have easier access to guns. I mean, I'm sure there are parents in the crowd here, and even if you're not a parent, you can put yourselves in their shoes and ask yourself this: would you feel safe sending your child into a school building where teachers, essentially strangers, are carrying a deadly weapon? Me personally, I would not. According to the New York Times, it said that 2 students in 1st grade in Ohio found a gun in an unlocked case after a teacher in a concealed carry program forgot to lock it. This is just one scenario of many that can go wrong at any time. Kids are curious, and their little hands will get anywhere. And when it comes to a gun, it can get deadly. How is this fair to the kids? How is this fair to the parents? This not only affects their safety, but it affects their mental health. It could affect their relationships. Which brings me into the 3rd test. Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? Well, it definitely causes a strain on student-teacher relationships. Teachers would constantly have to be aware of a deadly weapon at all times. Where is the gun? Is the safety on? Did they forget to turn it on? Is it in a case? Is the case locked? Did they leave it unlocked? Where are the kids in proximity to this gun? These are just some of the things that they would be thinking of constantly throughout the day. On top of that, they'd have to give the kids a good education, take care of them. This is a lot to put on one person. Teachers did not sign up to be a police officer. They just wanted to teach children. According to the New York Times, it said that one teacher ran through all of the scenarios in her head. What would she do when a kid is coming towards her and they want a hug? How would she position her body? She said that she would turn her hip away from them. But how would that make a child feel? Imagine a young child going in to give their teacher a hug, something as simple as that, but their teacher seems apprehensive. Then the child thinks they did something wrong. Maybe they get scared. They don't want to interact with their teacher anymore. This could not only affect teacher-student relationships, but this could tie into family relationships, because now the parent has to force the kid to go to school, even when they don't want to, when they think they did something wrong. That can not only cause strain on a child's safety and their relationships, but their mental health as well. Which leads me to the fourth test. Is it beneficial to all concerned? Well, it's certainly not beneficial to the parents who disagree. How would parents who not even have guns in their own home, who disagree so strongly against it, how is it fair to them to send their child into a school where teachers that are basically strangers carry weapons? I mean, I know you're supposed to put faith in your teachers, but that's a lot. That's a lot of faith. And according to Everytown for Gun Safety, the states Ohio, Florida, and Texas all allow teachers to carry guns in school. Yet from another source called World Population Review, these same 3 states are in the top 10 for school shootings. If we're taking measures so drastic as teachers carrying guns, I would want them to be effective. And this astounding evidence shows that it's not really doing much if these same 3 states are in the top 10 for school shootings. In conclusion, the Rotary Club 4-way test shows that it is not the truth. It is not fair to all concerned. It does not bring goodwill and better friendships, and it is not beneficial to all concerned for teachers to carry guns in school. The many cons outweigh the pros, and are teachers and students' safety really worth a potential situation? At the end of the day, I want us all to ask ourselves this. Which would you prefer? A student who loves to go to school or a student who's scared to? Thank you.
Our final contestant this afternoon is Vikram Sundaram. His topic will be attracting teachers of color to the classroom.
Walks during mine, so I'm just gonna stand in front of the podium and I'll just project as well as I can. Is that okay? Cool. As famed activist Martin Luther King Jr. noted in his book, Why We Can't Wait, if an individual enters the starting line 300 years after another man, it would take some sort of miracle for him to catch up to his fellow runner. It seems that this is symbolic of the systemic oppression that the black community has faced for far too long now. And despite any progress that the United States has made in recent decades, these inequalities continue to persist, prominently in our education system. Because an article written by the Pew Research Center points out, on January 5th of 2023, elementary and secondary public school education teachers are a far less racially and ethnically diverse group than their students. And that's a real problem. Because just like in our political bodies, racial representation is key. But fortunately, by utilizing the Rotary 4-way test, not only can we recognize the clear need of preserving the role that teachers of color have in the classroom, but we can also delve into some meaningful solutions to help students of color for generations to come. Now, let's kick things off with some bad news. Or as it's known these days, the news. The first question in the Rotary Club's 4-way test. Is it the truth? And it seems that the answer is undoubtedly yes, as this inequality and disparity is more pronounced than ever. In fact, an article written by Education Week points out, on March 7th of 2023, according to federal data from the 2021-2022 school year, they found that overall, over 80% of teachers identify as white and less than 7% identify as black. And this results from a variety of different factors, whether this be the underrepresentation in teacher credentialing programs, low pay, or a lack of respect in the workplace. This brings forth 2 key problems. The first of which concerns attraction. Individuals of color are not incentivized to enter the profession of teaching in the first place. Now, the second problem is retention. If an individual of color decides to pursue the profession of teaching, there are still a multitude of factors that drive them away. So, as the United States is seeking to diversify its education system, they must attack these issues one by one. So, let's delve into those solutions and analyze their viability by looking at the second question in the Rotary Club's 4-way test. Are they fair to all concerned? Now, a key pillar of fairness for any ethical issue across our nation concerns the idea of financial compensation. And right now in the United States, black teachers are not properly compensated. In fact, the Brookings Institution points out, on March 2nd of 2023, in a survey conducted with 210 teachers of color in a university licensure program, they found that over 80% of them had severe funding gaps, resulting from things like the high cost of a college education or 3 months of unpaid student teaching. Starting college in the United States is like starting a race. You start running, and then the guy with the starter pistol decides to shoot you in the leg. It seems overall that college in our country is far too expensive. To understand what the United States must do, they must expand scholarship opportunities and expand financial guidance that is uniquely directed at prospective teachers of color to make sure that this current system of inequity is replaced with a system of fairness. But it's important that we look beyond the economics, the numbers, and the stats, and look at the real social atmosphere that teachers of color are exposed to every single day. The final question, the third question in the Rotary Club's 4-way test: will it build goodwill and better friendships? And the answer is undoubtedly yes, if these solutions are implemented properly. We have to understand the real social hindrances that such teachers are exposed to every day. As an article written by the Washington Post points out, on March 2nd of 2023, in a survey conducted with 325 black math teachers, they find that over 97% of them are exposed to microaggressions, stereotypes, and implicit biases every single day. Now that's a real problem. So, we must expand things like DEIB training and lessons to make sure that a welcoming culture characterized by fairness is created for teachers of color, to make sure that they are not only incentivized to enter the profession, but to also give them a reason to stay there. But it seems that teachers are only half the issue here. We have to look to the individuals whose lives are directly dependent on them, and that's America's students. The final question in the Rotary Club's 4-way test: will it be beneficial to all concerned? And the answer, one last time, is yes. Because teachers of color bring in a system known as culturally responsive teaching. An article written by Reuters points out, on March 3rd of 2023, culturally responsive teaching is defined as utilizing the values, beliefs, and perspectives of all students and integrating that into a teaching model. Therefore, the presence of teachers of color does not only help students of color, but it helps students across the board. So it seems that Dr. King's words have not lost their relevance, and America is being forced to reopen the wounds we thought we had closed centuries ago. And rather than deflecting this beneficial phenomenon, it's time we embrace it. Thank you.
So while the judges are going to be deliberating, I would like to invite contest chairman Rich Cole to the stage for a few words. I just knew I was doing it today, by the way.
Yeah, you're amazing. This time, I would just like to extend some thanks, but especially an overabundance of thanks to so many who worked so hard to pull this event together. Thank you so much to my predecessor and former contest chairman, Kent Rotary and Will Underwood, for sharing so much wisdom and so much help and assistance over the past several months, I'll say. Your guidance has hopefully evident today in the joy and the experience of all of us today. So thank you. Of course, we need to thank all of our judges and timekeepers, especially our finals judges, District Governor David Jones, District Governor-elect Julie Brandel, thank you for being here, and past District Governor Larry Lohman, thank you. Thank you to Springfield Local Schools for being such a welcoming host for this year's event, and especially our Superintendent and Business Manager, Port Summit Rotarians, Shelley Monachino and Dustin Boswell, and to the four-way test speech committee, Dustin Boswell again, Shelley again, Dawn Presley, our head judge and head timekeeper today, Ron Whitmer. Thank you so much to my wife, Jenny, who did so much planning and working behind the scenes. And just this morning, she was outside in the rain drilling holes in the pipe there to get our banners hung up on stage appropriately. So I want to thank you, honey, for everything that you've done in the last few weeks as well. And last but not certainly, absolutely not least, I want to thank so much today's speakers who truly have been a huge inspiration to me, and I'm sure everyone else in the room, and truly a beacon of hope for a beautiful and blessed tomorrow. So let's have a round of applause for everyone. Thank you. That's truly all I have. Shelley, is there any words you'd like to offer, and then we'll hand it over to the judges.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks.
I'll hand the trophies out from down there.
That's perfect. That sounds good. All right, again, I just want to give my thanks to everybody who helped make this. Family members, I know you probably had the speeches memorized in your head just as much as the kids did, because you probably heard it over and over and over and over again, telling them to talk slow, slow down, say your words more clearly, swallow your spit, do what you got to do. So thank you to the families and for giving up your Saturday for such a wonderful program. This was my first one, and I cannot wait till next year. So with that said, I am going to give it up to the judges. Are they coming up? So now I got to start talking again. Okay. All right, let's see. What can I talk about now? I'm at a loss right now. It's not raining. That's a good thing. I'm saying what? Oh, about my district. Well, let's see. I've been superintendent here now for 10 months. So yes, I had to count that out there. It is a fantastic place to be. Everybody that I have worked with and has been fantastic. Our kids are great. Let's see, what else? Oh, this is my 30 some odd years in education. So that's always a good thing. And I'll tell you, every one of your speeches that you gave really related to something to do with education. So hopefully some of you 7 down there are going to become teachers. Yes? No? Anybody? No? Okay, no. Well, that's what we need. We need you guys up there being the teachers to start talking to our young ones. Are they done deliberating yet? Okay. The rest of them? Yep. Okay. So, honorable mentions in no particular order. And again, I'm winging this. Vidya Narula. Yeah, come on up. Next honorable mention, Michael Wu. Our third honorable mention, Corinne Cullum. Our fourth honorable mention, Mary Klein. And for our honorable mentions, we do have checks for them for $200. Awesome, nice job, guys. Okay. So now, the time we've all been waiting for. In third place, with the topic of impacts of colorism, Sanjana Katir. In second place, with the topic of attracting teachers of color to the classroom, Vikram Sundaram. And I guess we're going to know who's in first place because she's sitting down there all by herself. In first place, with her topic of shortfalls of artificial intelligence, matrix, Elizabeth Chen. All right. So, we could do pictures, but for that, I think this concludes. Big round of applause for everybody. This concludes it. Thank you very much. Oh, yes.